It's understood that the regional body SADC has agreed to deploy regional forces in Mozambique. This is one of the recommendations which were leaked to the media last week. The country has been hit by localized insurgency with alleged links to the Islamic State that's in the northern province of Cabo Delgado. The technical assessment team has recommended to SADC to deploy about 3,000 soldiers in Cabo Delgado. Meanwhile, it's still unclear at this stage when the SADC Extraordinary Troika Summit will take place. It was postponed last week. Well, to discuss the feasibility of some of these recommendations, I'm joined now by Willem Els, Senior Training Coordinator at the Institute for Security Studies, that's the ISS. Mr. Els, good afternoon. The sentiment in Maputo, I was in Maputo this weekend, the sentiment on the ground about this whole SADC thing is that it's about time that there was some action taken by SADC to support Mozambique's efforts, but that military solution on its own will not resolve the problem. What's your view?
Good afternoon to you. Yes, we hear what the people say on the ground. I was there about 2 weeks ago and we experienced the same. You know, this insurgency has been going on since 2017, and we've got almost more than 2,500 people that have died so far, and that's a lot of people, and a lot of lives could have been saved should there have been an intervention at an earlier stage. Yes, I think it is about time that we have an intervention, that there's action, because the status quo as it is at the moment is, apart from the people that are dying and with regular interface, we also got about 700,000 people who have been displaced, people that have been removed, that have to flee their residences, and that are also in dire need for support now from the international community to feed them.
Now, 3,000 troops on the ground, a task force, a regional task force, would mean countries must contribute to it, and SADC has a particular protocols on how to formulate such a force. Would that not open up a possibility of retaliations against those countries that will contribute to such a regional force?
It is a very good question because, you know, we can speculate a lot about it. But I think we should be guided about what happened in the past. We see that Cameroon, for instance, were warned not to intervene and not to send troops to fight against Boko Haram. They did so, but with the mistake that they made, they did not prepare for the backlash that might happen. We saw similarly in Kenya, that a similar situation happened when Kenya was warned not to send their troops to Somalia, and they did so, and there were dire consequences because equally so they did not prepare for the possible backlash that could have occurred.
South Africa should then be expected to contribute to this force, I presume. It's also a member of the Troika. President Cyril Ramaphosa was in Maputo just a few weeks ago. And in preparing to contribute, that awareness needs to be heightened, that we need to be, as a country, be ready and willing to defend ourselves in case those kind of reprisals, as we saw in Kenya and in Cameroon, play themselves out here simply because there is this alleged Islamic State link.
Yes, it is true. You know, we're not fear-mongering. We do not say it is going to happen, but we have to be prepared. And South Africa has got a lot of apparatus in place. They've got instruments in place. They need to activate that in terms of intelligence, in terms of preparedness, and also a general awareness amongst the public should be brought in that we should be on our alert, we should be on our lookout. Should we see something that is out of place, it should be reported. So it is a general awareness that should be established, where everybody takes responsibility and where we support the security forces.
Yeah, well, SADC has not yet finalized or given the go-ahead. We are just talking about what if those troops do get deployed under this regional task force. Those scenarios are possible. But from your point of view, if the military solution is not the only one that must be relied upon to resolve the crisis in Cabo Delgado, which has been escalating since 2017. What other solutions are there? Is development a solution? I mean, because the young people of Cabo Delgado says they have no jobs, they have no future, but the wealth of the region, the mineral resources, the natural gas is being exploited by foreigners.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's right. Because if you look at the pure military solution, in the past in Africa, for instance, it has never worked. You cannot go with a one-dimensional, hard-handed approach and think that you're going to overpower the people and it will solve all the problems. Even though we have to agree that your military is needed to stabilize the situation, and then the country and even the region should become involved in the rebuilding and the upbuilding. You know, the people need to win back the trust and the support of the people on the ground. Those people are in dire needs and dire straits because of the dire situation on the ground where there is no jobs, and all of those things contributed to this uprising. It is a perfect storm that hit the Cabo Delgado province, where a lot of these different factors worked in and that contributed to the dissent and to the unhappiness of the people. So what needs to be done there is, in the first place, they have to look at the social contract between the voters and the government, where government has got an obligation to produce certain things like your basic services that are severely lacking at in Cabo Delgado. Secondly, they need the prospect, they need hope, they need a prospect for the future. You know, they are seeing all these multinational companies moving in. They are investing millions and millions and billions of rands, but at the end of the day, very little is coming back to them on the ground. We see that endemic corruption of the political elite in Maputo, that is also one of the drivers that caused the dissent of the people, where there's a greed of all this money is going down back to Maputo, and very little is being plowed back into the region where it is extracted. And that causes severe unhappiness. We see in 2009 they discovered a very, very rich ruby deposits there. The first auction of these ruby deposits yielded $34 million, and very little of that money went back to the people of the town.
That's a very valid points you're making there. Thank you very much, Mr. Willem Els, for your insights on the midday view here about what's been happening in Mozambique as SADC is preparing to discuss the recommendation of a deployment of ± 3,000 troops on the ground to stop the conflict there that's been escalating since 2017.